All right, hello everybody. This is the fourth episode of the Sport Port, and today we're going to actually talk about what we are looking at for player props, for the game spread, for the over-under, and what we're thinking in all those areas. I explained yesterday kind of how I go through things, and today I'm going to actually put them into practice. So we know, 4-0 on the channel so far, nailed it on Monday night. It was perfect. Hit all of our spreads over under both of our player props. It was very nice. Today we're going a little bit heavier. Usually I'm not going to do 5, just putting them out there because then other people can look at it and go, oh, I kind of like this one and I kind of like this one. I'll pick these two. I don't think you should be doing 5-leg parlays. Those just are not going to hit very often at all. So pick 1 or 2 of these that you like. That's probably what I'll do. And, makes the, game a little more exciting than that. And if you're really confident in it, that can be good. So, starting off with the player props, because I already have those picked, I'll just go through those. I got Tua Tagovailoa, 17.55 fantasy points. These are going off of Underdog Fantasy, the pick'ems. Obviously, look other places. See if you can get it at 17.4 on Prize Picks. That's just more in the direction that you want it to be, so then you can pick higher and have a better chance of hitting that. Sometimes those little itty bitty numbers, they matter. So always look for the best spot, whether it's another app, a place in real life you can go, wherever it is, find the best place for the number you're looking for. But I have him higher than 17.55 fantasy points. He didn't hit it last week. That was going against Buffalo, and they did have a pretty banged up secondary, so it's kind of bad that he didn't hit that, but I think he definitely hits it today. I'll go into why, because all of these kind of relate to why, I think, for one main reason. But I'll go over that at the end once I've gone through all of them. Now we got Jamar Chase, 76.5 receiving yards. I think it'll be higher. Xavier Howard is questionable right now. So, if he plays, obviously that's worse for Jamar Chase, but Jamar Chase is one of the best receivers in the league. He hasn't looked outstanding so far, but he's been getting targets. He's going to get them today. He's going to get deep shots. I think that he hits this line as long as he catches 1 or 2 of those, and he'll be just fine. Then we got Jalen Waddle, 70.5 receiving yards. He has been crushing it this year. He's getting the most targets on the team over Tyreek Hill. He's going against the Bengals defense, which is not the best defense in the world. So I think 70.5 is really nice for that. I'm surprised it's not a little bit higher. So when you see something like that, it's something you want to go for. Then we got Joe Burrow, 11.5 rushing yards. He's going to get pressure on him. That's a given at this point. He will probably get sacked 5 times this game, and he will be trying to escape the pocket. And if he gets, a couple times he has to get out of the pocket, he has to go, and he does, and he scrambles for 4 yards this time, gets a nice 6 this time and a 2 another time, boom, you're already there, you already made it. So I can definitely see that happening. And then lastly, we got Joe Mixon, over 23.5 receiving yards. He's a good pass catching back. He can take off with some of them. He's fast, he can hit people, very good running back at receiving. So 23.5 is not some crazy number there. You can maybe go for his side number of rushing plus receiving yards, which is 90.5. But the reason I picked this one is because of this. These all relate pretty much to them passing a lot. I also like some of these passing attempt totals and stuff like that. Maybe the passing yard totals and whatever. But these are the ones that I was most confident in. And it's all relating off of, Tua's not going to get that many fantasy points in a run-heavy game. Jamar Chase isn't going to get 80 receiving yards in a run-heavy game. Jalen Waddle isn't going to get his receiving yards in a high-running game. Joe Burrow is not going to get his in a high-running game because he's not going to have to scramble like that. Joe Mixon, if it's a high-running game, he'll get all those rushing yards, but he's not going to get as much receiving yards. So I think that this is going to be a game where neither team wants to let off the gas. You could have the Bengals up by 20 at halftime, and they're going to want to keep throwing it. They're not going to want to start trying to run it and whatever like that, just because of how the Dolphins have been getting into these games. They are, they will be down by a bit. And then, Baltimore, they made a huge comeback in the last quarter because they can hit these deep shots. They have these amazing receivers. They can do that. The Dolphins, if they're up by a bit, they're not going to want to let off either. They don't even have as good of a running back as Joe Mixon. So why would they just run it like that? Especially when you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins on the other side. And they're going to want to get over there, and they're going to want to, take some deep shots. And then, boom, you're back in the game like that. I don't think either of these teams are going to want to let off the gas. And a lot of times, even on Sundays, you'll see it. I will make my picks for a game. Maybe I'll do, more than 5. Maybe I'll have a bunch of picks that I like, and I'll do them all. But they're primarily going to be off one game. I will pick one game that I'm like, okay, I think that this game is going to be just super, super high volume passing. Just insanely high volume passing. So I'm going to pick 5 props for that game that are passing related. If I think like last year, Bills and Patriots went against each other, and it was like the windiest game, the coldest game. And if you took the under on every single receiver pretty much, you won those bets. That's exactly what you should try and do every week. I could have 5 different guys from 5 different games on a Sunday, and I'm hoping that this happens at 5 separate points in time all throughout the day, hundreds of miles away from each other, when you could just be like, okay, I think whatever game, we'll talk about it tomorrow, the certain games I'm looking at, I think this is going to happen. Either it's super high passing, it's not super high passing, the defenses are going to be really good, whatever. And that's how you make all 5 of your bets. Because in this right now, if this is a very pass-heavy game tonight, a lot of these bets should hit. Once again, very hard to go 5 for 5 on it. That is a very hard thing to do for anything. But, if this happens, this should also probably happen. If Jalen Waddle's getting a ton of receiving yards, he'll hit his prop, and it'll help Tua get to his prop. That's the way I see it. So if they're passing a lot, then that helps Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow's props. Even though Joe Burrow's is rushing, like I explained earlier, if he's getting back in the pocket and he's getting pressure on him and he has to run, that's how that's going to happen. They're not going to design any big QB runs for him. It's going to be because they're passing and he has to get out of the pocket. So those are my picks for that. And now I will get into the interesting portion where I'm picking the over-under and the spread. As I just said, I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. Unless this, over-under is like 60 points, which it's not going to be. That would be insane. Then I'm going to pick the higher. So I think that it's going to be higher on that. And I have not looked at it yet, but I would have to imagine that the Dolphins are probably favored by 2.5 points. If I've been thinking about it, I think 2.5 points. I was thinking 3.5, but I feel like it's, Vegas odds. They're probably going to put it at like 2.5. So I have it pulled up on my phone, or it's pulling up on my phone. It's loading, but I just didn't want to have it pulled up on anything. I wanted to have to look it up. So I'm going to FanDuel just to look. Can't use the app, but yeah. So Dolphins minus 2.5 is what I think that will be. If I had to guess on the over-under, I would guess like 49.5, maybe, for the over-under. But even then, I would take the over. So going with that, let's see what it actually is. The Dolphins are plus 3.5. Okay. So now that says something. We are taking absolutely the Dolphins plus 3.5. That is insane to me. Put it in the wrong spot there. That is actually insane to me. I hope I'm not missing something. But yeah, I'm looking at that and I am extremely surprised at the fact that that is the Dolphins getting the points there. I would absolutely take that. Oh my God, dude, why can't I be old enough? That, I will be genuinely surprised if that does not hit. The over-under is 48.5. So I was 1 point off. It's even better for us, though. Over 48.5. So Dolphins one is going a little bit off the screen there, but that's fine. So yeah, that's very surprising. But hey, we should not be complaining. We should be going and we should be making that bet. That is insane to me. Obviously, if you don't agree with me, don't do it, and don't just take my advice blindly. If you feel in your gut, you're just like, I don't think I should do this one, don't do it. Go with your gut over everything else. Do not go, like I see so many people like online and that just go in, they look at these guys and they're like, oh yeah, I'm like definitely making that tonight, and it's like, cool if that's what you think, but if you are just purely going off of what this guy says, I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think go with your gut, go with what you know, and I think that is the way to do it overall with anything. So let's take these away just so we can get everything on the screen here. So, this is just a quick recap of what I think is going to go on tonight. I told you guys, I think it's going to be a very pass-heavy game. If you don't like any of the props that I gave, but you do like T. Higgins over in passing yards or receiving yards, go take that. Also, FP is fantasy points, RY receiving yards, RUY is rushing yards. Just want to clarify that because it's up there. But yeah, so we have over 48.5. I feel just fine with that. I was almost nailed guessing it. And then we got Dolphins plus 3.5. That is very surprising to me, as I've just said. I thought they were going to be favored in this game, but apparently not. So that's that. But I absolutely love that Dolphins line right there. Love that Dolphins line. And if you want to do what I was talking about before, where, okay, it's Dolphins plus 3.5. And the over is 48.5. And we are pretty confident in both of those. But we want to play it safe. We don't want to be stupid risky with any of our money, right? Over 48.5 by, 4 points. Just 4. Just 4 points. You buy 4 points, it's over 44.5. Also buy 4 points with the Dolphins plus 3.5, and then you got Dolphins plus 7.5. And I can come in here. Might take me a second to find it, but I will just put those in. So, we can come over. They have a billion different things on this app. So, they have a whole section, buy, sell points. Go down, alternate spreads. We're buying 4 points. It's minus 225 for the Dolphins plus 7.5. So that would be us buying 4 points. That would mean you have to bet $225 to get $100, right? So then we can go to alternate total points, and we can go, we're thinking, 44.5? So we can go check that out. Over 44.5 is minus 196. We put those together, and we're now at plus 118. So you bet 100, you get that much. So you are already confident in both of these lines, and then you're adding another 4 points, which is a lot of points in something like this, to both of these lines you're already very confident in. And then you will put them together instead, so they both do have to hit. But then you're completely, instead of, minus 110 or whatever it would be to pick one of these normally, you're now at plus 118 for two things you are very extremely confident in. So that's the way that I think would be the best to do it. Buy 4 points in each way, get it to plus 7.5, get it to over 44.5, and then you should be absolutely good to go. That's what I think. I think that I would hammer those personally, and then the player props, I'm feeling amazing about the spread in that. Player props I still feel good about because of the game I think it will be. But yeah, 2 over 17.55 fantasy points. Jamar Chase over 76.5 receiving yards. Waddle over 70.5 receiving yards. Burrow over 11.5 rushing yards. Mixon over 23.5 receiving yards. Mixon is probably the one I am least confident in. These are pretty much in order here. Chase and Waddle could go either way. But if you're going to take like the Tua fantasy points one, also take the Waddle one. You don't want to bet on each side of the ball. Keep it all on one side of the ball. Keep it all in one game. That's the best way to do it, the safest way to do it. Because then it's either going to hit all of them or you're not going to hit all of them, pretty much. I doubt that Tua is going to hit over 17.55 fantasy points if Jalen Waddle does nothing all game. That's his main guy. So either both of them hit, neither of them hit. You'll just have to see. I'm very excited for tonight. But these are my picks for the day. Thank you for tuning into the Sport Port. I will be back tomorrow to talk about these picks. And it will be a much longer video as we are going to be talking about all of Sunday's picks. All of the games, everything. We are picking all of it. So I'm very excited about that. It will be very long. I'm going to have to record it tonight because I'm actually going on a trip tomorrow. So I will be gone for the weekend. So I will be up late doing that for you guys. But I appreciate it. To anybody who stopped by, good luck on anything you do tonight. And good luck to whichever team you're rooting for. But I appreciate it, and I will see you guys tomorrow.